Hi, Varsha. Oh, that's nice. What's your name? Oh, that's nice, Purvi. Nice to have you here. I'm going to turn my screen because, yeah, this makes it easier. Not sure I'm going to see. Okay, alright, camera's on the stand. Alright, I'm doing this for the first time. I really hope this goes right. Okay. Funnily, I can't see myself on another device, so this is odd. Okay, so how do I see myself now? Can everyone see my screen? A thumbs up would help and can hear me clearly. Is it okay that you can see my screen sideways, or would you prefer that I did this? It just is more of my desk in a funny way. So let's see, where's my... Oh, there it is. So you can see this, can you not? Yes. Hey Jacob. Hi Alka. You can see my fingers, Jacob, and can something perfect. Okay, it's a very odd thing, this thing. My camera stand is quite nice in the sense that it holds my phone quite well. I can't see it covers up. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I can see you. Alright, it's almost 6 o'clock. 1 minute to 6. And we're going to try and achieve some mosaics today. So I put this out maybe 2 days back, and I got a lot of people asking me, how do you do this, how do you do mosaics? And to be honest, 2 weeks ago I didn't know much myself, but ever since I started, I kind of tried many things many times over, and I found that like a few things I could figure out myself, like a few things in terms of a few things I would want to do or not want to do. But in general, I would say I haven't finished the entire learning process as such. I'm merely on the road. But there are a lot of things that you can do to make things look nice, make mosaics like this. It's not difficult to do, it is just time consuming, so there's a big difference there. So time consuming because you have all these little shapes to fill up, versus if we were coloring it up all entirely, you just be done in a few minutes. But now you're going to fill up all that color with little pieces of little shapes, things like that. So that's the tedious part. That apart, you can keep your mind away. You can just sit there at it like maths. Imagine doing a bunch of problems like that. You can just go on and on. It's quite mechanical after a while. Okay, so today's I don't know whether I should be doing an entire monogram. I think a lot of people like monograms a lot because it's nice. It's a very nice thing. For example, I did this for my husband. He's an S like me, Sheldon. So he liked the whole mosaic patterns, and he said he wanted one for his WhatsApp display pic. Imagine. So I did this for his WhatsApp, and and he seems to have really liked it. It's his display pic at the moment. But when I made this, I had another request from another family member. My daughter wanted an R, and I realized that many people like monograms too for obvious reasons. So today maybe we could do the R that we were at least started off. Okay, I'm not going to say we're going to finish it because, like I said, that's a lot of pieces. And but before we start the art, let's go on to some basics. Okay, what are these shapes? Somebody asked me, do you actually draw every shape before you color it in? No. We will never finish monograms. We will never finish any mosaic at that rate. So you have to kind of add a shape as it goes. Okay, so when I say add a shape as it goes, meaning you don't know when you're putting down a shape what the next shape is going to be. You're kind of putting the next shape depending on what you're trying to do at this point. For example, over here, if I want to cut off my space in between, I put a triangle, and then after that I might think of putting some kind of a quadrilateral or something like that, So I don't know what my next shape is going to be until I actually start. So that's what I wanted to say. You can't plan your shapes in a mosaic. Okay, you mustn't. If you do that, then it becomes very tedious. Okay, so before we do all that, I can show you a couple of mosaics that I did try. Now I really enjoyed this one. Okay, I was so enthusiastic. I sat and did it in one go. So this in this particular mosaic, what I was trying to achieve was a gradation. Trying to see whether we could get dark blue, light blue, somewhere like it's almost transparent, like a whitish, but you can't see the mosaic then, right? So it was a light yellow, and then I went into a darker yellow till I got this sky-like, sunset sky-like look. So this is where I tried a mosaic with gradation. And then of course I did the flamingo. Was just 2 shades of pink as such. So but this I liked only for the gradation. I really enjoyed this for the gradation. Now apart from that, you will notice that the monogram I did really doesn't have any shading, right? So that's a good thing about mosaic. You can add a shading if you want to, but if you don't do it and you take a flat picture like this, then that's really nice. That's a nice thing about it. Now you look at this flower, it's very basic. It's just a basic flat flower, but the moment you fill it up with mosaic, it just looks so much better, right? Imagine painting this all in one color, and then that's something anyone can do. But the moment you make it mosaic, it looks very, what can I say? Yeah, it's really nice. Everyone thinks, wow. So the same thing for this now, alphabets, these mosaic alphabets, you'll notice simple colors, they're very plain. But if you were to make it a single color, the whole thing, it's just plain. But the moment you make it a mosaic, it's very pretty. One more mosaic that I did was, I should show you this one. This was the first one that I tried, and it took me a lot of time because, you will see in time when I explain, the shapes are rather irregular. You will find that they are rather irregular, and later I managed to regularize a bit. But the good thing about a mosaic is there is no real mistake you can make, So even with the irregular shapes, they're not too bad. And that's the good thing about a mosaic. So if you've seen a mosaic in real life, I'm talking about a tiled mosaic, you can't determine that a piece is going to be triangle or a square or rectangle. You can't determine. It's just a tile broken randomly, and it takes on a random shape, and we fit it in, right? And we try to adjust the shape such that they fit against each other with a mild gap, not an excessive gap. The little gap is what makes it really nice. That little white line. The moment you increase that space, white line in between, the space, white space in between, it doesn't become a mosaic as such. It becomes more, it does not have a form, or the shapes don't stand out too well. Like for example, I'm putting all these yellows together to make it look like the rays of a sun, right? But if you space out the whites in between, you're not going to feel like, it's not going to feel like the rays of the sun. So yeah, that's one point to keep in mind. So what I will do is I will show you one of the approaches of a mosaic, and that's the thing about a mosaic. Like I said, there's no fixed shape that you have to do. So I have seen mosaics where they've done almost everything in circles, circle shapes, filling up, you know, somewhat like a dot mandala, like that. At the same time, I have seen mosaics that have you know, entire sections covered in a single set of the entire width taken up by the shape that you're putting down. At the same time, I have seen mosaics like this, where the shape has been split into multiple pieces that are inside each other, filling up that shape. Okay, so so it all depends on what you enjoy most. Okay, so let me take for example, now when you are starting any mosaic, remember, you don't necessarily need to have a rounded a sharp what can I say, a sided figure, you know, a figure that has only sides. You can have circular figures. So I'm going to show you right now, and I'm going to take this my watercolor set, which is this Camlin C18. It's really simple, everyone has this, I think. So what I'm going to show you is what I do to fill up a straight space, that is a square or a rectangle, something that has sides. Okay, so assume I'm going to take a blue color. I'm taking a blue here. Is the music too loud? I'm not sure what you're hearing really. Okay, so now to start off, I've decided that I'm going to start with a triangle. So let's first, now for this one important thing that you must remember is that the brush needs to be nice and thin, and the point needs to be really good on it. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see, but my brush is really pointy. This is a number 2. Sometimes a zero is good enough. 2 or 0 depending on the point, but the point is important. Now why am I saying point is important? Because you need to draw a shape first, right? And then you need to fill up that shape. And after you fill the shape, you're going to draw the next shape. So now assuming that I have this triangle, I have the freedom to select the next shape, and I'm going to choose, let's say what would you call this, rhombus? Yeah, I'm sorry, my geometry is a bit rusty. So I do a rhombus there, and then I decide that I want another triangle, but this time a really wide triangle like this. Okay, now if you notice, I'm keeping the distance space between the two any two shapes very minimum. If I reduce the space, it's going to join into each other because it's all wet paint, right? But if I increase the space, what's going to happen is I'm going to have shapes like this. There's your shape, and there's your other shape, and there's a third shape. Okay, now this becomes too spaced out. It doesn't have a sense of a blue color filled up. Okay, so that's why I would recommend keeping the space small. And to keep the space small, you really need a pointy brush. You need a brush that has a nice point, that will not by mistake slip over and, you know, do some funny stuff with another shape that you already put. So here I'm going to put another quadrilateral, and that one's going to be odd shaped here. Okay, and now here, now like I said, I don't know what I'm going to put next. Now here it looks like I can put a triangle. You notice here? Okay, so I'm going to try a triangle here and fill it up. I may want to have another triangle here, okay, and I'm going to make it a nice long triangle, because whatever you put, it's not going to be wrong. It's just that you've got to plan the next shape accordingly. So now I have a space here. Have a look at what I'll do. I will make, I don't even know what the shape is. It's a quadrilateral, so I'm going to very often call it a quadrilateral, simply because I'm not sure. All four sides are unequal. What do you call that? Okay, so there you go. So what am I doing? I am working in the space that I have left around, in as a neat and defined way as possible. These lines that you have, these are guides, okay? They're going to tell you where your shape has to stop. So if I'm doing blue around this R, I want to stop that blue. At no point should my blue shape cross this boundary, right? So you will notice that the pencil mark doesn't matter, because you're not going to let the paint touch the pencil mark, okay? So I continue. I do something like, oh, I like these long ones too. They look very nice. Okay, so this way you're going to keep going on and on. Now in little spaces like this, make sure that you don't make too many small mosaics. This is only because you don't want to get tired of doing it. If you are game for some patient painting, you can go ahead and do just that. You'll see what I'm doing. Now, while you go, as you go, every now and then stop and just make sure your shapes are not getting larger than they should. Now, when I say larger than they should, in this particular picture, I'm maintaining a certain size. You know, when I say size, what I mean is most of the pieces are in and around a particular size. I am not going to put too many shapes that vary. I'm not going to put such a big piece out here, okay, next to these shapes. So I have to just, now what happens very often with many of us is, as we keep going, our sizes either get small or they get too large, and then you have this uneven mosaic, okay? So you have something starts off with this shape and then getting larger and larger and larger. So then by the time you reach this end, you have large pieces, or you have the other way around, small pieces. By the time you come here, it's really tiny and small, and okay, and that becomes very evident that you started painting from one end and you went to another end and that didn't pay attention to size too much. So that's one thing you have to know, keep in mind. The other thing you have to keep in mind, and so like I said, there is no fixed size. Now this is the approach I've gone with this particular outline, I mean, or should say background, okay? This is the size I've gone with. That's not to say that you can't use a bigger size. So let me show you the size. Let's say I do this one, okay? I'm doing this circle just to show you that I can fit a bigger size as well. And this will also show you that you can make a mosaic for a circular or a rounded figure with the same kind of angular shapes, okay? So here my sizes are going to be large. Alright, keep diluting your paint from time to time. It gives it a nice glassy finish, you know what I mean? It dries unevenly, and that's so cool about a mosaic, and it dries unevenly. So these are really big shapes. Now you can fill a background with big shapes like this. Okay, and this may be a very good approach for a background because you want to finish a background quickly, right? So it may be okay for you to fill a background with shapes like this, but your inner work, maybe the thinner lines, thinner sections of your design, could be smaller mosaic pieces, okay? So you could have this size in the outside and then even this size on the inside. That's permissible, okay? It's just going to be I won't say less or more intricate, but it is just going to be different. The general appearance is going to be different. So let me try small ones here. You see the unevenness in the green? It really does make it, give it a glassy appearance. Getting it? So, alright, I am sorry, I'm not looking at anyone's questions. Anyone has questions? Or, okay, I'm going to just continue. So, this is basics. And so, what I'm going to do is, I'll complete this R, okay? Before I get onto this, because this I really don't think I will be able to finish right away. But what I tried to do here is draw a basic shape of the alphabet I want. And now, for example, I'm doing this for my daughter. My daughter's name is Ruth, and so R. This monogram is R, and I've chosen the flower that's what is the name of this flower? Larkspur. A larkspur is basically bluish purple flowers, like this, and they have green leaves. And so before I start this mosaic, because it's a lot of work, you have to plan your colors, and I want to show you what I did in terms of planning colors. I wasn't sure what kind of colors would go well with this scheme. So here's what I had planned, okay? And this is just very rough, very rough. You'll notice I tried, okay, the larkspur doesn't change and the green of the leaves don't change. So what changes then? What changes is simply the R and the background. So you want to, okay, you can go for shapes more than 5 sides. Yes, you can. But yes, it complicates the mosaic a bit too much, and then what happens is very often it makes you tend to create smaller shapes after that 5-sided shape. Okay, so it is nice if you could stick to a 3 or 4 triangle and quadrilaterals. And like I said, a 4-sided shape can go anyway. It can be a square, it can be a rectangle, it can be all 4 sides completely different. So you have a lot of variety in 4-sided shapes alone. So if you are doing 5s, they can be just at points where let's say you're just trying to fit one shape and you can't find a 4-sided shape to fit it, you know, something like that. At the junctions, okay, junctions, yes, I know what you mean. So for that, Alka, what I will do is, let me get to this one, and I'm going to show you just the point where the leaves, okay. So what I've decided, okay, what I was trying to tell you all was, I need to plan this color combination and color scheme that I want to go for a particular mosaic before I start it, because otherwise it's like you're somewhere in between, you may realize, oh, it doesn't go well, it's going to be a problem. So I'm going with something like a purple, purplish larkspur, and the leaves are green. So I'm gravitating to this color scheme simply because the letter is nice and red, okay, a reddish pink, kind of reddish pink, and the background is yellow. So what happens is, when the background is light, it lets the letters stand out a little more. Okay, you can take the opposite approach as well. Darker background and a lighter letter, so that the contrast is good. So in this case, I'm going to go with a reddish pink R with bluish purple larkspur flowers and these green leaves. So let me do the difficult part, and that is this. Okay, the leaves and the flower. So I'm going with sap green, because just generally sap green is a lovely green for leaves. I don't know what music is playing, honestly, it's just weird. I started off with something nice and then okay, so here's my green, and don't make it too concentrated. That's another piece of advice I'd give you, because a mosaic needs the transparency of watercolor to give it its uneven look. I would recommend that we, avoid using a very pigmented color. Watery color is better. So there you go. Here's my leaf. Now, since these spaces are small, I'm not splitting a section into smaller. This is already small enough for me. Okay. Ends like this, I never do anything apart from a triangle, so I'm going to leave that triangle. Okay, Am I audible? Yeah, I hope I am audible. I try to avoid these the pencil marks. The only reason is because if the watercolor is transparent at the pencil mark, you're going to have to erase at the end, right? You're going to have to erase the pencil marks at the end, and what watercolor goes over it, you cannot erase. So then you'll have this light pencil mark running behind your watercolor, and that's not nice. So I try my best not to. So this one's really thin. Can you see? So now my stock all the way up till here is going to be green, which is why I will simply put these squarish shapes, because I'm not getting extra ambitious in very small spaces. You try to get ambitious, what happens is the watercolor will move from one to the other, you know, the little shapes you're making. So I try not to do anything funny, and this little pattern is actually quite nice, keeping it steady this way for such a thin branch or stem. But can you see how it's shaping up? It's yes, so wherever I do have these roundish edges, like I said over here, if you look at my circle here, you will notice that even though this is a triangle, that edge of the triangle I have rounded, you know, I have rounded to kind of match the round shape. So same with the rectangle, the quadrilateral on this side here, I have rounded. So whatever side is rounded because of the shape, we will round it up, but all the rest continues to be sharp. Alright, so here now I've decided I'm going to make a triangle, and then a nice long thin rectangle, followed by another triangle. So the pointy brush is so important. In fact, I'm going to make this nice and big, because I don't want to, I mean not nice and big, but big, because I don't want to get into really tiny shapes. They just make the whole process go on too long. But I like this green. This green is just so pretty. It has that, you know, glassy look, that feel. So that's my leaf. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on to now technically, okay, this is just because it's a live and I really want to show you how you're going to make this corner come in, you know, properly. I do it immediately, I'm doing it immediately, but actually what I would do is after I finish these leaves, I would go to another section altogether, let it dry, and I don't want another color being done very close, so I would actually turn it around and maybe do these you know, open spaces. Okay, but for now I will continue, because I want to show you how the red of the letter and the green of the leaves work. Just let me get a little red ready. So I'm taking what is this red? I'm going for bright colors. Okay, this is for a 7-year-old. A 7-year-old pretty much likes her primaries. Alright, so now, oh sorry, I knocked that. So now what I'm doing is, very carefully I'm going to make a triangle wherever you have these joints. I don't know Alka, if you're talking about these joints, but these are the areas where you need to make sure you have a triangle, and here you are fitting your shape according to the space. So your space is triangle, I mean it's like a triangle, then try to go for a triangle. Okay, just for those gaps. So again here there's a gap. Now you'll notice that since I'm on the other side of the line that is drawn, or the outline that's drawn, I still am not really touching the pencil line. Okay, so what's going to happen, that light pencil line is going to be there in the white space between, and when your painting is completely dried, you can actually erase and nothing will happen to the paint, and the pencil mark will completely go, and then it will look like as if you painted without any outline, right? So so let me just complete. Now here, be careful, this is where my letter ends. Someone asked me if you wanted a 5-sided shape. There you go, 5-sided. You can do it, of course, you can. These corners usually only triangles, but outside of that you can try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 5 is allowed, 5 is possible. It just looks a little odd, but that's fine. Yeah, there's another thing I wanted to talk about, and that is that sometimes we tend to do this, you know, we kind of form an unwittingly we form a line going through. Can you see this patch where I've kind of maintained the white? Okay, so when you realize that that's happening, you should make an attempt. So for example, here naturally I'm inclined to put a triangle here and some other shape here so that that line continues. Where you can in a mosaic, break that, because what happens then is that the line becomes very evident, like an outline. Okay, and we don't want an outline really at this point. So unless that line, like here, it demarcates a border, unless you are trying to demarcate a border, try to keep these random. Okay, I don't know if that's making sense, but so now I've stopped this white line here by putting a shape that breaks that white. Is this making sense? I don't know. Oops. So my head is knocking this thing every now and then. Okay. Yeah. How much time do I have? I keep losing track of time. Okay. We're about halfway in. So there you go. I'm going to go a little faster because really there's nothing much to this. This is just a little filling up. Okay, so now we stop over here because again we have this little patch of green, and that's going to be fun to deal with. So let me continue with these. You can do this with any shape. That's what I love about this kind of mosaic, is that you can draw. You don't have to have excellent drawing skills, as long as you can draw a shape, any shape, a fish, a bird, anything. You can fill it up with these wonderful shapes, and it just looks lovely. I'm going to bring my I hope I'm not, I get carried away sometimes with the painting, not realizing where my camera is. Okay, there's another corner here. Okay. You'll notice that certain colors give you that glazed look better than others. So for example, my green here, my green gives me a better glazed look than red. And in case, okay, so this also happens sometimes, no matter how hard you try, the color goes into one shape, from one shape into another. Don't worry too much about it. I did this very silly thing of taking water and trying to, you know, kind of undo what I did, and that made a big mess because two more shapes at the side got wet and bled into each other, and then it was just a big mess. So what you could do is let it all dry. Even if it has blended, two shapes are blended, let it dry. When it is fully dry, you can come back with a something like a gel pen, a white gel pen, and just separate the shapes that have joined, you know, merged. So just a thin line to show a separation, and then you're pretty much, I mean, it's pretty much good to go. So just a word of caution for those of us who end up trying to make watercolor bend to our will. Doesn't happen. Okay, so now what is left for me with this bottom part of the R, which is very I mean, you have to concentrate, because you can forget where things are, but you must know where different sections of the picture still needs color, and don't color the wrong color, because then the shape changes, right? Okay, so that's it. That's all my red at that point. I'm going to go on to the blue that I was talking about, and for this particular one, I'm just going to, like I said, I'm going for these really bright primaries, because I have someone who is in primary and who enjoys these colors. So there you go. I have a bluish purple, which I'm going to kind of dilute down. Now this is the first time for me, so let's see how this turns out. Okay, let's see how these flowers turn out. I've got something on my, yeah. So what I'm thinking of doing, and this is just like because I planned it, they have yellow centers, these particular flowers. So I'm going to leave that space, a small little wedge for a yellow to come in right at the center. So I'm going to keep that space, and not big, very small, just a little dot, honestly, not bigger than that. Yeah, this space, that's it. I'm not doing it more. I'll come back to it when this is dried, and I will fill that up. This may actually look nice if we do these triangles and kind of make them look like petals. So this is all, you know, each one's it's how you see it, or you feel it looks good. There you go. The more shapes you have, I mean, sorry, the more, you know, items you have in your painting, the better. So for example, if you just have a rectangle and a square and that's all you're filling up is fine. It's not bad. It's just that smaller shapes like this, like many flowers, I could have made this an entire mound, you know, that goes into like just oval shaped thing, or a pyramid shaped thing, triangular, but it just doesn't it doesn't have the same effect as having individual flowers. So, you know, I would have filled it up differently had I had a just a long triangle for this flowers. But now that I have individual flowers, look at how it's turning out. It's turning out much better, like as if they actually have some petals, and you're trying to make some mosaic petals. It's almost like you can see the individual flowers in this larkspur. Okay, but although having said that, I'm dangerously close to ruining my painting, because I'm very close to each. Fine motor skills, not for a infant. But you notice this blue does look, you know, has that glassy effect we were talking about. It's a nice color. Bluish purple. I mixed, what did I mix? Cobalt blue with what is that color? Crimson. Yep. Cobalt blue and crimson gave me this lovely shade. Now, what is happening here? Okay, this is just too small. I'm not going to bother with the centers here. Okay, it's just too small to try to be too smart with. Okay, also what happens is my shapes are getting smaller and smaller, and I don't want to get so small and so intricate. Oops. Sorry folks, I'm not always looking at your comments, so if you do have any, if you are painting with me, or if you plan to do this and have more questions later, please send me a shout. There you go. So that's my larkspur flower, and I will do the same thing here. Okay, now before I actually finish this session, I want to show you my last color, and that's going to be the border, the background. Okay, not the border, the background of my shape. So let me take, I've decided to go with now I have an option of something like a lemon yellow, but lemon yellow, honestly, I can't see the transparency on this as well, because you know, a darker color usually tends to show you a light and a dark, kind of the transparency effect I'm talking about, and lighter colors you don't see that transparency too well, because you can't see it in its dark or pigmented form that much. So the options here that I would have chosen from are either gamboge here or yellow ochre, but I think I'll go with gamboge, simply because I want that I want the background to be light, you know, as like this blue that I was doing earlier. I want it to be light, so I'll go with this gamboge here. My cakes are so dry now. Now the only problem with this dilution and usage, you just have to make sure that the tip is not overloaded. It happens to me so often, and if it's overloaded you will not get small shapes. So just if you feel you need to just dab it, please dab it. Now again, I'm working on the edges and the joints between two colors, and in this case I think I may actually make a bigger, so I'm going to go with what I told you earlier. I'm going to go with bigger shapes for the background because I don't want to spend all day. So my shapes are going to be larger in the background. Thank you, Ritu. There you go, too much water. Now I'm going to break this pattern here by having a triangle like this. Okay. Sometimes I come back and I take a little paint off the ones that are excessively wet, and that works too. You'll notice that I'm automatically trying to get smaller and smaller again because I'm used to small shapes, but it's nice not to do that, and consciously make your shapes big if you're going with that is. I'm doing something very funny here. It's not even a shape. I'm just filling this out. Again, size is starting to reduce. It's the borders you need to take care of the most, the edges. You'll notice there's a sliver here that's yellow, supposed to be yellow. So you can just put a sliver there, no shape really. Okay, taking shape, taking shape. Occasionally do look and see if you feel you are adding too many triangles next to each other or too many rectangles or something like that. It's always good to step back and just look at it occasionally. I'm going to go with a really big shape here. And I shouldn't have touched that line, but okay, it's starting to fill up, but I guess because the shapes are so big, now you can't see the goodness of the mosaic just yet. It's probably going to come only once we fill up an entire side with this color. Oops, too much water, too much water. So I'm going to borrow. There you go. Borrow a little and it looks alright. Thank you to everybody who's joined. Thank you. This is my first live. I wasn't sure how it would go. Still, I'm not sure if I can save it. But like I said, I've got great supporters, my own friends, who all enthusiastically said they would join for my first live. I'm grateful to all of you. If any of you do end up making a mosaic, please share, tag me along so I get to see it, or you can send me your mosaics by DM or WhatsApp, whatever works. It'd be nice to see others who've tried mosaics. So I tried this with a bunch of kids, kids have no inhibitions, when you tell them what to do, and they were so excited with the whole mosaic idea that many of them, after the session was over, they actually went back home and tried mosaic with just about anything they found, like any shape they wanted to. So I got pictures of a dinosaur in mosaic. Imagine a dinosaur in mosaic dinosaur. Alka. Oh, you're doing it with me? That's awesome. Awesome. Please do share. Now one more thing I have seen, and this is something that you all should try if you're trying mosaic seriously. You can also mix colors. So for example, I'm not going to do it here. I probably should show it to you here. You can mix colors. When I say mix colors, suppose I'm filling the background with yellows. Okay, I'm going to go with yellow here and some triangle here. I can even give it a twist by dropping in a slight other color. So you see this orange, like I drop in a bit of orange. If you drop in a wet on wet color, so like for example, if I drop in just a bit of orange or something like that, the water will do its own thing, and you will end up with a mosaic. Although it's all mostly yellow, you will have these tinges of orange somewhere, and that makes it even better. It's like really unbelievable when eventually, and I can share some Pinterest posts that have really good stuff. There is one, I don't know if I've shown this. I should show you one turtle that I tried once. And now that I reflect on it, I think, yeah, well, what I did was a mosaic. I didn't know back then. So you see this turtle. I'm not sure if I'm holding it up right. So what I did here is pretty much similar to the concept of a mosaic, right? I mean, you're just taking a shape and look at the blend of the colors, the blues and the greens. It's just amazing. All I did was basically give it a light wash of blue, and then drop in dots of blues and greens all over that wet wash. So wet with wet, just it did its own thing, and you have this lovely texture. So this is something that you can do even with the mosaic that we are doing right now. Right now I'm going with just these plain colors, single tone. But if you want to kind of do shades that go well with each other, like a blue-green, you could try. So for example, in this case, maybe while it is still wet, you can keep dropping in an orange or a light green, whatever is nearest in color to yellow, blends with the yellow well. And you will get a really super effect. The entire mosaic around is awesome, really pretty. Okay, so where am I with respect to time? 47. We've got 13 minutes to go. Let me make the most of it. I would recommend putting your paints onto, palette or some place like that, because then they start to get too dark, when they don't have enough water, and you directly pick them from the pan. Thank you everyone. Everyone's kind words always acts as super encouragement. Who is this? Karen? There's a Karen. Oh, Jacob's Karen. And then you might find these little portions where you have no choice but to use a small shape, and that does happen, but that's fine. It's not going to be frequent. It's going to be once in a while, and that's fine. It's okay if that shape kind of fits itself in. It doesn't go as fast as you want, so Make sure you go reheat your chai if you have to. Or the best part about mosaics, and that's one thing I have to say, is that I can leave it. I can leave it and come back to it whenever I want. Nothing is reliant on do this while it is wet, no, do that while it is, no. There's no problem. Just leave the mosaic as it is. And that is a very handy thing for someone like me when I have my kids come up and ask for all sorts of things in the middle of painting. It's nice to be on something I can abandon, you know. So that's a good thing, and nothing goes wrong. So what could go wrong, right? I mean, it'll dry off and then you continue, because you're not coming back to any of the shapes you already made. So take your time and relax. It's therapeutic. It's very therapeutic. Some good classical music, if you like classical music. I thought I was listening to some of Mendelssohn, but turns out I was listening to something else. I don't know what. So I suggest you check your radio station before you start. See how it's turning out? Okay, so in our last, I don't know, what is it, how many minutes we have? What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue, but I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions. Anything that you feel. There you go, one more example of a curve or an edge that I'm going to do with a shape that is not even a quadrilateral. I don't know what shape this is. Do you see what I'm doing? Just, that's it. It's a broken piece of tile. You have no control over what shape it is. And you'll notice that when you're doing one color and another, maintain that gap of white that I was talking about. So don't be tempted to go and touch the color next to it, because the moment you do that, that white space is gone, and then it's just that definition of that outline you were looking for, that is lost. So be careful about that. That's one thing to watch out for. That apart, have fun. Sharp brush, very very important. Pointy brush, not sharp. I'm talking like as if the brush is a pencil, but it's, what I meant was a pointy brush is very important. Do you notice what's happening? My pieces are becoming a little big because I got used to drawing big pieces. Happens to the best of us. It doesn't matter. Like I said, if you're aware of it, you can correct it, and it goes on as if nothing really happened. One random piece got big. So what? Okay, can you see the mistake here? I mean, well, not mistake, well, something I can correct. Scope for correction. Too many squares or too many rectangles, and it's not looking so good. So there you go. Immediately I'm going to change the shape, make it more definitely a triangle somewhere soon. So this is not even half the work, and it's already 6:55. Anybody with any questions? So you could try something simple instead of going for this really you know tedious first attempt. Try something like this. So all I did here, okay, was write the alphabet, like I said, write the alphabet like a block alphabet, and I simply painted one color per alphabet. It wasn't a big alphabet, it didn't take me long, and this is just in itself so pretty without the background. If you notice, I have not put any background here, just the mosaic for the letters, and it looks just as pretty. So if you want to gift someone, let's say what do you call it, a bookmark, let's say, this is an excellent way to just make something interesting. So a bookmark with their name vertically would make for a nice gift. So put your pieces together and let's see what all of you come up with. I'm going to continue this later, and I'm going to put it up on my I'm going to put it as a post for all those who watched, but for now I will stop, and I hope to do more lives if possible, other topics. I'm not sure when they're going to cut me off right now. They say about an hour and then they just Insta tends to cut off. So thank you all for joining. Sorry, that's my phone jumping off the hook. Do try something, anything, any shape. Keep it simple initially, something like this, or some basic shapes if possible, and let me know. Oh, Alka, I'm so glad you liked it. Wasn't sure what's going to turn out. And thank you for joining, all of you. Hopefully I can do more lives, and I will definitely be making a tutorial on YouTube for this, but I will do a complete piece, and not only a complete piece, I will have to do some time lapse as well in between. So watch out for that, although I don't know when that will come. And maybe sometime later another live on something else. Let me know. So thanks, Tapaja. Thank you so much. I'm glad I've always got a gang of people always there to support me no matter what I turn out. So thank you all. I have no idea if this is going to get saved or not, but I will try to check. Yep. Thanks, Stanley uncle. Nice to see you on this live. So I will try and check if this can be saved. If it is, then you'll find it in the IGTV section of my profile. Thanks once again, everybody. Hope to see your mosaics soon. See you. Bye bye.